And we are live according to YouTube. Welcome back to another episode of Aussies taking over the NBA. It is Tuesday night in Australia, 28th of January. The very tragic news coming out of the US yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. So it was an Australia Day long weekend for us. So we had Monday off as a public holiday, and the news broke early Monday morning, which was yesterday for us, that Kobe Bryant has passed away in a helicopter crash rather. The news was not good. It was at the start of the day, and it just gave me that feeling of just all day was like I was kind of off phase all day. Like my mind wasn't working properly. I couldn't think properly. I was sort of, not quite all there, which kind of happens when there's a shocking death. And man, it was brutal stuff, and the outpouring of sorrow has been overwhelming over the last sort of 24, 48 hours. But
it's been tough in many respects, because it just puts a little bit of a weight on the season. There's not that joyous. It's not basketball. It's bigger than basketball. It's the family has lost a member, and I think they're all in pain. They're all hurting. It's all sentimental, and it's all now for him. And I think it'll just eliminate that fearsome rivalry for, I think, the rest of the season. I think teams will just be, coming together, playing some good basketball. There'll be no chippiness. I think it's sombered everyone. I suppose everyone knew him. He trained current players over the summer. Giannis, really close to him. Embiid, these guys, the superstars looked up to him. He was the inspiration for a generation of basketball players. And, obviously very well liked and respected throughout LA and, throughout Hollywood. And it's pretty just horrific, the fact that it just, one, happened so suddenly. Two, you kind of thought, is this just a hoax, or is it not real? And then, you get the confirmation, and it's kind of like, well, this is terrible, and it's depressing, and, didn't necessarily have to happen. And
yeah, man,
you kind of want to know, and then you go down the rabbit hole, and the rabbit hole's deep, and it's just, it's not great. And never a good time for these things. But I think, now is the worst possible time, going into All-Star, going into, the end of the season. You wonder how some of these guys can actually, play the next couple of weeks and go out and put a brave face on. You see players that, got told literally an hour before the game, they were just shattered. Some of the players sat out. Jason Tatum, Kyrie Irving couldn't play. They were that devastated. And, you understand why that happens. But you have to say that he's one of the greats, one of the best that's ever played. There is no more GOAT discussion. I think it's just Kobe is Kobe, LeBron is LeBron, Michael Jordan's Michael Jordan. It's just irrelevant, made that discussion completely irrelevant. And it's a horrible thing to happen to anyone. There's 9 people that lost their lives. People lose their lives every day, but it kind of hits home when it's someone that you think is invincible, really.
Yeah, they almost transcend the sport. They're like an avatar, basically.
Pretty
for
much.
The sport. Yeah, you think they're invincible. You think nothing, and the suddenness too. Like you've seen like older guys, get old and get sick and they die, and it's he was old and he was, sick. But for this sudden passing, and I think for his daughter too, that's like a huge blow. That's taken the community. Like it took them a little bit to sort of like seeing a lot of the social media stuff to then turn to like his daughter at 13 with a career ahead of her. Clearly was going to play in the WNBA. Like she was really, really talented watching her high school stuff. For her life to be cut short, man, that's probably the most devastating stuff, the most heartbreaking stuff. I mean, Kobe, a 41-year-old, had lived half of his life and it's not a nice thing to rationalize that way, but he has left a legacy on the game. Like, I just feel gutted, man, for his wife now that his daughters.
Right. Was his youngest was born in June last year. That's crazy. That she's never going to know her dad. There was three other kids on that helicopter.
That you're not even going to know who. Like, nobody knew who they were really. Now they know who they are, but you know what I mean. Like, it affects somebody else's life. The other thing, like you were saying just before, like we've now, if you pan it back towards the NBA in general, we've now got to ask the question of like the players have to experience this, and you've got to see that through the camera's eye, and you've got to understand that this has happened through the eye of the NBA media. They're going to really put out a lot of stuff. Like I was saying to you before we started this, today was really where it started. They got all the sad music out, man. They got all the footage. They've clipped all the clips together. Now all the footage is dropping, all the memorial banners, and it just like, it feels real. Like now, like you're just like, oh man, it just doesn't. I don't think that's going to go away, man. I really don't. Like they're going to not milk it, but it's going to be in the forefront of this NBA the rest of this season.
Yeah, I don't think it's a milking it, because I don't think.
And that's such a crass way to term it, and that's not what I mean. But they're obligated to do that because he was just an avatar of the game, and that's part of, if you have a community and that's part of your community, you honor that. So you know what I mean? Like, it's just it's such a surreal thing. Yeah.
It's all well deserved. It's all forthcoming and rightly so, and it should be celebrated. And man, people have got to grieve. Like, you just can't go out and play basketball. And it's good they obviously postponed the Lakers Clippers game, but people have got to grieve. People have got to take this and run with it. And it's a lot of unknowns. It's one of those events. It's where were you when you heard? You look back, what were you doing when you heard this? What were you feeling when you heard this? There's very few events in life that really do that outside of your own personal circumstances, I think.
Yeah, it's something we all have to experience in one way or another.
It is. And, I don't think what's being said is, in China, even though there's been this huge virus outbreak and it's all pretty crazy over there, like, he was a god. He was a god in China. Like, some of the stories that they have of people breaking down in the street because he came on a plane and, did a training camp, or it's just crazy to think that this monolith of the sport was just gone like that. There was no, okay, he's, this, that, we could probably, move it in there from an Australian setting with Philip Hughes and how that happened. You're like, oh, this is, what happened, this, that, where were you? From a sporting sense, when people die too young, only a couple of years post-retirement, 3 years post-retirement, amassing, a wealth of media entertainment, the only NBA player to ever win an Oscar. So he's obviously a talented dude. And that's just all gone.
Yeah, man. Just like that in a blink of an eye. And everyone's sort of like, a lot of the outpouring of stuff on Twitter was very like, hug your family and stuff like that, and it just makes you sit there and think like it's all meaningless in the end, and it's what you leave behind and stuff like that, and it makes the season surreal. But looking at the league, I said to you straight away, I'm just like, this is going to make this season weird. Like, it's going to be the Kobe Memorial season. Nothing's really going to matter. I think that transcends what happens this season. I think really this, they talk about asterisks in championships. Feels like this might be one where, who cares, man? The dude died. It sucks. Everyone was miserable. We didn't want this to happen. And yeah, I don't know. I'm still still in shock. I think it's going to take me a couple of weeks to just.
I think it will take a couple of weeks.
Yeah, last night. And then sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, it'll take a couple of weeks, then the All-Star game happens, and it's all going to pour out again. And then the Lakers are going to make the playoffs, and it's all going to pour out again.
It's not going to stop, yeah.
It's not going to stop, and so you just, you want to have happy connotations and passionate connotations with basketball. You want to be like rooting for your team, but it kind of doesn't matter anymore. You know what I mean? Like this is the season that Kobe died, and who cares if Philly wins? Who cares if the Bucks win? It almost be you have to go. This is in memorandum for Kobe. The Lakers have got to pull this off, man. They got to take it. They got to fight for it. They got to do it. And you kind of like, I'm not a Lakers fan personally. Kobe fan, he's a fantastic player.
Yeah.
But even you are just like, you got to do it. You got to do it for them.
Mm-hmm. And like, we sort of discussed that on Kings last night, Kings Dime. Like, neither of us have that real affinity to it. Like it's not like as if it was like a Bogut or a, Baines or something where you have a connection to that. Like both of us know, and it transcends the sport. His legacy is something of where two guys who don't even support the team, who didn't really have a connection to his legacy until after it kind of really matured in the mid 2000s, where both of us kind of really connected to basketball. And then it just shows you, man. I mean, how many people would be like, I hated this guy, and now it's it's such a tragedy, but it's the respect comes out. And really, it's it's such a just a grim feeling. And to put it into context, around the season to come, I think it's going to take the world a while. Like it's going to take the basketball community a while to sort of digest it. And it almost, to me, like we'll talk about the Lakers for a little bit. Like it almost sucks for them. Like I don't know if that's the right term, but it kind of felt like things were coming together for them, and I'm, this is probably a little bit early to be kind of eulogizing this basketball situation, but like for this to happen, it's changed the view of what this team became at the start of this season. Had started the season really well, looking really good. LeBron's been playing really well, and I think, I don't know, it can change the dynamic of the team and the league and their fortunes this season.
I think it can go one of two ways. They can pull together and be this just monolith and mega franchise that draws together and draws down on the pain and pulls off a crazy season, or it can all fall apart just as quickly. And you don't know which. You want to hope that it doesn't fall apart for them, out of pure respect and in nostalgia. You want it to be more than that, but you're just not sure how it's going to affect the next 2, 4, 6, just all these things bringing up again. So it's going to be a tough road ahead. Very somber season. We'll try and bring some light to it through the Aussies and obviously, explore all that's happening on the Aussie side of things. But you have to pay your respects to one of the greatest basketballers that's ever played the game. 20 years of my life, I'm 32. You heard the words Kobe. You watched Kobe. You got Kobe cards. You played Kobe on NBA 2K.
Yeah, you shouted Kobe, chucking your trash in the can. Kobe.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And it's all over. And it's just weird. And it's bizarre.
It is. It's such a strange thing. Like, it is weird, man. And again, it's something in life that humans have to experience, and it's something like as a collective species. Like sometimes I think about it, and I don't feel like to get real deep. Like I don't feel like the human psyche is really developed enough to have this outpouring of grief, like this many people, the legacy of this one person to so many people. Like I don't think the human psychology is really meant to just be bombarded with this stuff. Like I think as humans, you're meant to like, oh, that was bad, process it, grieve as a small sort of community, and then move on. Like, but I feel like this is just going to keep like coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back. And I don't know, man. Like I said today, like those videos I put on last night. I was looking at the flight stuff, and all day I was like, I don't want to, man. I don't want to. And then it sucked me in last night looking at some of the details of what happened. And then by like 12 o'clock, I couldn't sleep. I was just like, it was back again, that just like feeling of just, and then I'm like, why did I do that to myself? That's so silly.
Yeah.
And then today at random times was the same thing. Like, why am I thinking about the things that happened, and why didn't they just do this, or why didn't they just not take off, or and we looked on the map and it was only like a 2 hour trip, really, if there was traffic. Why risk it all for a 2 hour trip, man? So just, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I suppose that's there's not much more you can say. It happened. The helicopter crashed. It was terrible visibility. They needed to get somewhere. They wanted to be somewhere, and it just wasn't meant to be. And this is fate. Whatever it is,
for sure.
it is what it is. Maybe it transcends the game. It transcends the stupidity of some of the tit for tat that they have in the league, and it brings the league closer together as a pure sporting entertainment franchise that has one goal: to provide the best product in the world for its fans. No one wants to see Kevin Durant having beef with this guy. No one wants to see that now. It's time it's all put away. Get back to playing the purity of the sport, which is basketball, because it's pointless. I think you learn now that no one's indestructible, no one's invincible. No matter how much money, no matter how much power you had, how much stature and fame, celebrity, no one's indestructible. And life is fickle.
And in the blink of an eye, man, it just can all go away. In a car, in a helicopter, flying overseas on a holiday or something like that. It could be any time. So you just got to live your life, the way you want to do it. And for him to have that legacy, man, like, how proud would you be of that, even in such tragic circumstances?
Of course.
Incredible legacy. Millions and millions and millions of people on the planet, you know what I mean, knew who he was.
Everyone, you'd have to think that at least everyone between the ages of about 15 and 50 know who he was.
Probably.
It's almost even more. It's a name synonymous with very few sporting names, Tiger Woods, Michael Schumacher, Ronaldo.
Yeah, Messi and stuff like that. Yeah.
David Beckham, Messi. It's one of 10 sporting names that you would just instantly recognize if you were in China, Vietnam. People know who he is. It'll be mourned. It'll be very sad. It's going to be very sad for a long time. But the show must go on in some way, shape.
Yeah, man.
And,
it was good to see. We were just it was good to see the Aussies. Like the NBL was going to do a tribute. A lot of the NBL teams were, a lot of outpouring on social media, and the organizations in Australia sort of saying, like, paying tribute. It was amazing what he's done for the game, really acknowledging that, and a lot of our players. And it just shows you again, like, our play, like the effect that he's had. Because I saw a few things where people were just like, who cares about this guy? And you're just like, a lot of people, like millions and millions of people care about this guy. It's like, okay, you're one person who's just like, oh man, I'm playing the guy who's just like, who gives a shit about this guy? But then you're just like, it's literally millions and millions of people know about this guy. Like, it's nuts, man. Blows my mind. But yeah, it was good to see a lot of the Aussies sort of show their respects, and how he's touched so many. I reckon a few of them have probably worked with him too. I think Exum may have at some point too worked with him pretty extensively.
Over the off-season.
Yeah, one of the off seasons, maybe 2 years ago. I think he did some work with him, so it was good to see. Yeah, sad stuff, but yeah.
The show must go on, and there's been some games, and we're going to talk about it because we're getting into our mid-season reviews coming up. Cavs are going to be first off the rank this week, as well as Detroit.
Funnily enough, they played today, didn't they?
They did, and the Cavs won.
Yeah, well, it was kind of just like battle of the trash cans.
It's funny because Exum has a 28-point game and then doesn't score for the next 5 games. So I'm not too sure what's going on there. That team is, researching and going through the team stats and the on-field stats, and some of the things that the Cavs, really need to work on as a team is just, ball movement. There's too many isolated players, too much ISO scoring. It's never going to work. I don't think they know what they want to be. I don't think they know what to build around because none of their players are franchise cornerstone pieces. I don't think Kevin Love is. I think Kevin Love's a great piece. He's in the twilight of his career and he's been playing well, but he's not a franchise cornerstone. You need someone between the ages of 23 and 27 that you're going to build your team around or add pieces to potentially move that team forward. I just don't think they have anyone.
I think like Kevin Love in isolation, right? If Kevin Love was 22, maybe like 22, 23, was just about to sign a new deal and like he loved Cleveland, you would go, right, that's a piece you build around. But him being, what is he, 30, or just turned 30 or early 30s, really shouldn't have signed that deal to begin with, to be honest. Like, kind of was just like, all right, I'm here for a year, I'll just get paid and then I'll move somewhere. Like, it's kind of a strange situation that they're in where he is clearly their best player, yet it's just like a guy that wants to leave anyway. So
I don't know if he wants...
how much can you go, well, we're going to just, build around this guy. And you're just like, yeah, but he's going to leave anyway. So what's the point of that? And then you got two young guards who are both sort of fighting for the ball.
It's, look, they've got a bit of dead cap space. If you obviously we'll go through this. They've got a bit of dead cap space. They've got a few guys coming off contract at the end of this year. It's going to be a lot of money to spend. They're going to have a lot of money to spend next year. I don't know if there's anyone in this draft that would suit them. It's a kind of another guard-heavy draft, and that's not what they really need to build around. But it'll be interesting to see what they pull out. Talk about Delhi. I don't think Delhi's going to be in the NBA next year.
I can't see it happening, man. I don't think so, really. Like, the shot thing hasn't worked. I think that was kind of a last hurrah on his season, really.
Yeah, the shot thing hasn't worked. Shooting around 17% for the year on a decent amount of shots. It's like 1.8 per game. So it's not
like he's not taking them, and
Yeah, it's and that's kind of his only scoring avenue with maybe a little mid-range floater, but he's more of a facilitative point guard in a team that's just full of isolation scorers. Doesn't really make sense, doesn't work. Maybe they keep him as a bit of nostalgia because they're rebuilding and it's not really important to... They're not going to go out and sign 10 pieces that are just kind of role players. Like, I'll keep Delhi on vet min. Keeps everyone happy, good guy. Keep that core, build around that. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but I mean, Exum's there. He's got another year to run his contract as of next year. He's a guy that's really going to have to really step up in the next 12 months, put some runs together, get some scoring going. Can't be averaging what he's averaging. He's going to be having to, get into the double digits regularly and defend. I think in this, talk about this game today against Cleveland, against Detroit. Thon got the start, didn't play many minutes. I think he played about 18 minutes, got some points, got some rebounds, got some blocks. I could see Thon staying in Detroit. The more I think about it, the more that Blake Griffin contract just makes me sick. The more it's just, it doesn't make me sick. Like, the guy was a production machine, great player. He's broken, he's injured, he's gone. He's not coming back. His knees are shot. They've obviously got Derrick Rose, who's in almost MVP career form, playing phenomenally well. Use him as a trade piece to get someone else. They've got a couple of good young players. I think Thon will add excellent depth to their bench. They don't really need to go and sign bench depth. They've got it there. He's a guy that you need to make, I think it's like a $4.5 million qualifying offer. It's not a lot, it's not a huge salary. Obviously coming off his draft rights. It's not a huge salary for a qualifying offer in a team that's rebuilding. If they get to move Drummond on or anyone like that, they've obviously got Thon, who can play the 4 and the 5, which is going to be needed in that versatile space where potentially they're moving other players around. So I think he will stay in Detroit. He's been playing quite well. I've actually, been watching some of it. definitely getting a little bit better. Plays the center probably better than he plays the four. This doesn't work anymore at the four for my mind. I think when you're playing Giannis, we're playing with Giannis, you can switch at that 4-5. But he's a center. I think that's what it is. He's a block hunter. He's a rim protector. He's a center that can shoot the odd three. But he's been definitely putting the ball on the floor and getting to the hoop a little bit more effectively. And it's been showing in some of his stat lines and his players, and they've been getting a win here and there, but just not consistent enough. And again, they've got $35 million in dead cap space just sitting on the sidelines for 2 seasons. I think they probably had their season last year when they got to the first round of the playoffs, and he pretty much just played broken. And I think that for this next 3 or 4 years stretch is Detroit pretty much done. But Thon's been playing, I think, quite well. I know you've been watching more of the Jazz lately. Obviously, been on a hell of a tear that ended today.
I think it ended the other day against the Pelicans.
Yes,
they had this. The Pels are just a weird team. They have this kind of team where if they get hot, like they're kind of a bit unstoppable, but then it's getting them hot. That's their problem, is getting hot. Like there's a little bit of
you are correct. I think we really have to take 5 minutes to talk about Zion, because in the first couple of games, dude looks legit.
He looked fat when I saw him, man. I was like, whoa, what is this? And then you watch him play and you're like, all right, this is what this is. Nice. I kind of like this. This is pretty good. Like, he's just so quick, man. Like, and natural looking. I think that the best way to explain it is like, it just looks natural. Like, it's not like he's carrying a carcass around. He kind of just looks like a massive version of Jay Sean Tate. Like, he really does. Did you see that block that he had against, who did he block? Who was it? Someone who swatted it like out. I think it was against Dallas, maybe.
Yeah.
And he swatted the ball like out into the stands. This dude caught it like in the 6th, 7th row. He was just like,
his timing and his vertical jump is nuts. It's crazy. He would almost work as this weird small ball center because he's so chunky. Like, he could defend the 5 purely because the 5 couldn't budge him. Like, he's so heavy, but still bounces anything, gets above the rim, finishes well, gets to the line, rebounds well. Look, if he stays healthy, man, I think he's probably going to be the best number 1 for the last couple of years. I think probably since...
Besides Simmons.
I'd say since Simmons.
Yeah, since Simmons, definitely.
I think since Simmons, yeah.
It's like watching him, like I said, it looks like it works. I think around the rim, there was a few times where I was watching it and just like, he doesn't really know. Like, he was looking around a little bit. And I guess that comes with playing with your teammates, actually getting out there and playing a lot of games and understanding your role in the team. But in terms of like just fundamentals, footwork, ability to move, timing, like it's all there, and all tells you like this guy's going to be a really, really good basketballer if he can put it together. But I still worry about that frame, man. That frame is big, dude. That's big.
The frame is big.
Carcass, eh?
The frame is big. His game style is explosive, and usually when that happens, you get wear and tear on your knees. I don't see him having a 20-year career. I see him having...
He's got to manage it. He's got to go to LeBron, pay him $1 million of his salary a year, and just go, dude, teach me your ways of longevity. Like, he's got to be on some next level body hack shit.
Yeah, I think you're right. PRP every day, stem cells,
smoothies, PRP smoothies. Juices, stem cells in the juice every day, chickens and eggs, stem cells.
Just the blood of young children just pouring through his veins, repairing him.
He's got to get on that Ben Greenfield shit, like really fucking body hack himself. But you're right though, man. Like, again, I go back to like, you're just watching it, just going, this just looks right. Like, his fundamentals are great. He moves really well. Timing's good. Like, around the rim's a bit, but he's gonna develop into a really good player. And the shot too, like that explosion at the end of that game was nuts, man.
I'm gonna hit 4 from 4,
and then they just take him out, and you're like, Gentry, what are you doing, mate?
That wasn't Gentry. That was the medical staff. He wanted to keep him on.
it's I understand. Look, I saw both sides of that, and I was like, dude, like, I get it. Like, we're not playing for anything here, guys. Like, really, like, okay, you're upset. You want to see him play. I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, they're not playing for anything. I don't want this guy to get injured.
I think the Pels are now a sneaky chance to make it into just take that 8th spot in the West.
Ooh.
I think they are. They've got a decent enough lineup now. I think he adds the X factor, and Brandon Ingram's been playing absolutely lights out. So watch this space.
There's only 4 wins between the Pels and Memphis, and then OKC quietly just OKC just like, oh, right, 7th seed locked in pretty much. Nice. Possibly even could finish as high as the 4th seed. Nice. Where did that come from?
I think you'll see that just kind of pull back a little bit.
I don't know. They're gunning it, man. They're going for it. And they seem to like have these times where I open my phone and I'm just like, oh, OKC's, wow, they just beat like Celtics. All right, cool. Like, how did that happen? Okay. And like a lot of the game, like, because we're not watching them, you're just like, how have they beat this team? Like, how have they beat this team? Like, they just beat this team? You know, like the Rockets, they beat the Rockets, going back through the Rockets again. They lost to the Lakers. They beat the Nets, Spurs, Mavericks. They went on a little bit of a run there. Raptors, where you're just like, you're not supposed to be winning these games. Look, what the hell?
I think Chris Paul, man, I think that shows you the longevity and the fact that maybe the problem was always James Harden. It was never Chris Paul.
Yeah, for the Rockets, you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And then just like, I'm sure this isn't really a sneaky underrated comment, but Steven Adams is fucking really good. Like, he's really good. And if you put him with a point guard who's just like, you know what, I'm just going to make sure he gets buckets. And he's really good. So I'm just going to be like, there you go, take that. And he's like, oh, yeah, nice. I'll take that. And it's actually working. And then they got Gilgeous-Alexander. He's been playing pretty well too. So, and then Gallinari, where you're like, when it's all happening for Gallinari, it's like, yeah, this is good. But when it's not happening for Gallinari, you're just like, whoa, get off the court. So,
well, I mean, I think Schroeder's probably in the line for six man of the year as well. So it's got a quietly good little team happening there.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. The Westbrook trade works off. Let's take it back to the Jazz. Obviously now they've kind of come back to earth a little bit. Had a couple of losses. Ingles not hitting the highs of 27 points a game. You know, getting back down to his below average self again. He goes through runs. He's not a consistent player in terms of scoring. He definitely goes through runs of crazy games, and then I'll just score 4, 6, 7, 2. But there's, you know, obviously facilitation. Notably, it's been when Mike Conley's come back in the team. Cancer.
Yeah. Just quietly.
Cancer. Just quietly. So that's a contract cancer if I've ever seen one. It's even worse than Blake Griffin.
The good thing is though that Donovan Mitchell is still kind of working anyway, and I feel like Joe Ingles has that affinity where you're going, you know, Joe's going to go, D-Mitch, get your 35, get your 25, all good. Whereas maybe another player might get in the way and hamstring that a little bit. Like you always, like Joe Ingles will have 2 and 8 assists and 10 rebounds, and he'll just be like, good night, we got the win. You know what I mean? So that's such a good and underrated kind of attitude to have, and I think it fits this Jazz team really well. Bogdanovic has been playing really well as well, and he fits the team perfectly. Like his ability to score, like he didn't have the greatest game today in that loss against the Rockets, was it? I still don't know if they can beat the Rockets, man. Even though the Rockets didn't have Harden and Westbrook today, I don't think they had Capella. I don't remember Capella being out there, but it's just like for how good Rudy has been in the last month or so, there's still something there where you're just like, oh, if you would just repeatedly do this one thing to him, he becomes null and void. And in a playoff scenario, that's what a team like that is going to do. And if any team during the regular season is going to pull out like these playoff tactics where they just go, all right, this one thing, we're just going to do it. It's the Rockets because, you know, they just do that.
They're one-trick ponies, really. It's either Harden, although, you know, it was Eric Gordon, had 50 today. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah, what did he end up with 50?
50.
It was nuts, man.
Nuts.
He takes some throws up some absolute flaming garbage. No, he had 20. Oh, Austin Rivers. Sorry, I'm looking at Austin Rivers. Yeah, 14 of 22. 16 of 20 from the line. Holy moly. How does that happen?
Just pick up a James Harden.
How many fouls have we got? O'Neal, a lot of fouls. Joe Ingles fouled out. D. Mitch had a lot of fouls. Gobert, only 2 fouls, so it wasn't a lot of Gobert. Bradley and Conley fouled a lot. Conley came off the bench, so. But yeah, I don't know, man. If they come up against the Rockets in a series, I still am like, Rockets, man.
Yeah.
Brutal. But just quietly, they've had a really good season. Like, the West is still a bit of like a murderer's row, if you know what I mean. Like, you look at that 2, 3, 4, 5 spot. It's only 3 wins separating them, 4 wins separating them.
Yeah,
and it feels like even though the Jazz were great, you're just like, and the Jazz are still the 4th seed, and you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of the next 20 games is really where we start to see where the ladder finishes are going to be, and those fighting it out. Like it's very clearly like 1 through 7 is kind of their okay teams, and then 8 through the rest are just trash, and they're just battling it out for it. And I think anyone in the West can pick that 8 seed. I don't think most teams in the East can pick that 8 seed. I think that's there's only 1 or 2 teams that can fight for that there. But
well, if you look at, I'm looking at the table now. So the Warriors, the Timberwolves. Funnily enough, the Kings went on a little bit of a streak there and then struggled. They're pretty. I don't think they can make it. And then they've got 17 wins. And then if you look at the Pelicans, they've got 18 wins, and Memphis is on 22 in the 8th spot. So I think Phoenix and the Pels can stay with them, but they're just like a little lost streak away from just like, oh, it's over. They're really on the edge. And then if you look at the East, Atlanta, Cleveland, Knicks, Hornets, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
As ESPN just plays me a video in the background. Thanks, ESPN. So Hawks, Cavs, New York, Hornets, Wizards all on 15, and then the Nets in the 8th seed at 19. So there's a little bit like less mid garbage there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If you look at the top, Philly, Indiana, and Boston all on 30, Toronto, Heat, and Bucks are pretty much locked in for the playoffs. And I think Philly's pretty much got a gap of 11 wins on Chicago Bulls. Are going to take something really, really disastrous for them to fall out of that spot there. So
and just beating the Lakers quietly at full strength.
Yeah, let's transition into that. Man, how good was Simmons? Again, just
you can
phenomenal, man.
Just unreal. How a guy just just beating Dwight Howard off the dribble, beating LeBron James on the dribble. I think he guarded LeBron James to like 22% field goal percentage and 3 turnovers when guarded by Simmons. Some of the pokes, some of them
were like, oh, someone's bringing the ball up the court, and he's just like, and you're like, oh my god, nuts! It's like playing 2K and just running up and smashing the X button. It's nuts.
That's a fantastic analogy. He is maxed out his steals, and then you can just like, the hands in there, no fouls.
Or like you understand you understand the AI, and you're just like, oh, if I go in at this angle, like on those old school EA Sports games where you're just like, if I tackle at this angle, I'm just going to get it every time, type of thing. That's what it feels like, man.
It's hilarious. He's playing phenomenally well, and I think we get to see what a team built around Ben Simmons is going to look like. And it looks very good.
Yeah,
it looks really good. Like, it almost looks better than the Bucks, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think you're getting a little bit carried away there.
No, and I'll explain.
No, that's all right. I think
I'll explain why.
Yeah, I think that around. I'll explain why first. Like, I think Philly have got more just like it's a platter of leftovers, and there's some like garbage in there, but you eat it and you're still like, man, that second time around, that snitty was delicious. It had a bit of cheese on it, had a bit of this on it, that on it. Whereas I feel like the Bucks are like a one dinner. You have the dinner and that's it. Like, they've got the shots, they've got Giannis, and it's kind of, they've got nothing much else after, like, beyond that. Like, if you take away that somehow, what do they got? And I don't see anything. Not that, many teams are going to take that away from them, but I feel like Philly, like, just like the ultimate garbage platter. There's shit everywhere that they can just go to.
That, and I think it was phenomenal in a game where Embiid and Josh Richardson are out, and they start a guy who hasn't really played all year, Shake Milton, and they're
He looked pretty
playing.
solid too, man.
He's a good player, man.
Mm.
Second year, decent size, can shoot the ball, and
Nine boards, 3 assists.
they just go to town on a good Lakers outfit, a strong Lakers outfit, and just make LeBron and AD look like fools.
Mm.
Um,
LeBron did have 29%, 29 points, but shooting the three ball poorly, man.
yeah,
I think it's the perimeter length. Sorry.
he's been terrible all season. But I think it's Simmons. You look at what Simmons can provide. He's like a young LeBron, but better defensively. LeBron was never that locked in defensively. I think he was great in blocking the transition and like the big plays, but quietly just the little hands in the lane, the one-on-one lockdowns. Simmons is just quick. I don't think LeBron was that quick in his prime. I don't think anyone was that quick in his prime. Like in transition, yes, Giannis is quick, but I think that's dimensions. Whereas Simmons is just, if he gets half a body length ahead of you, half a body width, it's all over. He's getting to the cup. And his free throw percentage has been a lot better in the last few games as well. Hitting 6 of 9, 7 of 9, 7 of 11, much better. That's kind of 65, 70% is very acceptable, I think, from the line. You'll get 3 or 4 extra points a night. That'll add up. That'll get your team closer to the blowout win and give you more room. We saw Jonah Bolden in this run as well for the first time against the Nets. Had a decent 9-10 minute stint, 4 fouls, but I think that's just lack of game time and probably timing as well. Some of the numbers that Simmons has been putting up, just shooting at 80%, shooting at not really shooting, just some of the weird layups, behind the head.
Man.
It's just,
and like you're right about the dimensions aspect of Giannis. Like sometimes it is just dimensions. Like you might have the body on a guy, like you might have the space around a guy, and you're just like, I got this guy, but he just has like the room to put his arm out and just softly lay the touch to lay the ball in. And I feel like Simmons has got that around the rim. He's got the smarts to, even though his body's in one position, he can think about how to score and maneuver his body into scoring. And probably 8 out of 10. That's a move that gets people off because it's so like he's so slithery. Like it's just such a weird thing to see a 6'10" guy that's like super smooth and slithery.
Yeah, it is weird to see a 6'10" guy that can run the floor like a 6-foot guy.
Mm.
Australia.
I should pull out an Australian colloquialism talking about the Philly team, and it's like a bit of a bubble and squeak offense. It's like that. It is, man. It is. It's just like there's so many different things in that offense that you throw Mike Scott at some people, you throw Ennis at some people, like Neto and Korkmaz come out, and you're just like, what? Neto and Korkmaz? They're doing shit now? Like, sweet, this is good. And then Thibault, how many times does Thibault get steals where you're just like, what? How did you even get that?
It's the blocks that he comes from half court and just blocks the 3-point line. You probably think he's rookie all defense. If he can develop any kind of offensive game, man, that is the greatest pickup of a draft play ever. Like, averaging 3 or 4 steals a game, 2 blocks, just defensively crazy. Between them, they're getting 10, 11 steals a game. It demoralizes teams. That's what stealing the ball does. It demoralizes other teams. And I think it's the pickpocket effect where you don't know, you become really rushed on the ball and you make mistakes because there are hands in the lane and there are hands around the basketball. But yeah, man, I just can't wait to see what is going to happen. If they can find if Embiid and him can coexist in any kind of way, maybe that is Embiid getting out of Simmons' way. We've always said Simmons has to get out of Embiid's way. Why does Simmons have to get out of Embiid's way? Why doesn't Embiid get out of it? Simmons is a much more efficient scorer around the rim than Embiid. You have to think about that. Embiid shoots 40 to 55% a game. Simmons is shooting 80% a game. That's efficiency. Maybe Embiid does take more 3 ball. plays the defensive center. Maybe he plays the Brook Lopez role, Simmons to run that team. No one's talked about that, but I think we now understand that maybe that's the way to go and not to run the offense through Embiid. Maybe in the dying minutes, Embiid becomes the post-up center that draws the foul and gets to the line. But throughout the game, you use him as a 3-and-D center.
Yeah, he's a strange one too, man, because he's kind of got unicorn qualities too, where, do you want to go, okay, stretch the floor and shoot threes, but at the same time, like, do you want to go, all right, get in the post and, work on your post moves? I feel like this season, from like last season when he was in the post, you were just like, this is too slow, dude. Like, it's too slow, it doesn't work. This year, it looks like they've tried to expand that out a little bit more and involve that in a different way. And you're kind of like, okay, yeah, nice. But it still feels like it's going to be a couple of seasons away until it'll fit properly.
And I think, what you've got to do now is you've seen what Philly can do with Simmons at the helm. You know that Horford likes to operate in the paint, but can kind of stretch the floor a little bit. Embiid likes to solely operate in the paint, but can stretch the floor a little bit.
And just quietly, I feel like Horford works way better in a 1-5 situation with Simmons than Embiid does.
Yes, he does. Yeah, I agree, but Embiid defensively is such a behemoth that down the stretch of games, you can just win games on defense. You know what I mean? Like, however, you need to get your scoring options right. You need to be able to do that. And it's kind of, do you just get out of Simmons' way and let him play the Embiid, the stretch 5, and then when Neto comes on the floor for his 15 minutes is where Embiid goes to that low post center and you run your offense through Embiid. But as soon as Simmons comes back on the floor, it's 1-5 Horford, 1-5 Embiid, and play it that way, just fast paced. The problem is he plays 42 minutes a game.
Yeah, it's nuts,
he's the most durable player in the league. Like, there's no doubt about that. At the pace, speed, and intensity he plays, he's the most durable player in the league.
Yeah, he's averaging 36 minutes a game.
It's nuts. I think he played 42 minutes against the Lakers. You have to. He's not on the floor.
Yeah, for sure. And plus, he's like part of his wrinkle in this team is he's connected to every single aspect of their offense, type of thing.
Yeah,
and their defense as well. So he's shooting 58.7% from the field from 2. Embiid's shooting 51% from the field from 2. I
don't think that's a true representation, because that's Simmons predominantly with an Embiid post-up lineup. So he's having to take different shots, not get that lane open, take harder difficulty shots. But as soon as you open that lane up and you play Embiid at the 4 o'clock or the 9 o'clock just on the arc, I think that's going to have a different effect on this lineup, and then play Embiid as that post center with Neto or Burke on the floor and just let him dominate for 15 minutes a night at high intensity. It's very hard for a big man to dominate at high intensity for 32 minutes a night.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you're given these...
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I think that's where that's where like I want to see this Philly team in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Because they've got just these weird sort of like wrinkles to throw, like cop this line up, cop that line, and I think it's gonna freak teams out.
Yeah, I completely agree. They're just going to kind of not do what they've done, change it up, be more fluid, play the plays in their strongest positions for the time that they're allotted, and the sky's the limit. They've pretty much beaten every team in the comp. So, beaten the Bucks, beaten the Lakers, beaten the Clippers, beaten the Raptors, beaten the Celtics, beaten the they've beaten all the top teams. It's just a question if they can do that 7 games in a row. Let's move on.
They're going to play the Warriors, so just look out there. Let's just quickly, the San Antonio Spurs. That's what you were getting to, right?
Yes, I was.
I think I texted you maybe last week. I was just like, the Spurs are back again, man. Like, this is great. And then they go on another 3-game losing stint. And it's just like, oh, they're out again. We're off the Spurs again, man. Fuck.
I suppose what we can... This is a tough conversation to have as well, is that the trade deadline's approaching. And this happened. what does it mean for that? What does it mean? Organizations are not going to want to throw players out against their own will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's too much transcendent now. I think that it's different now. They're not going to want to throw players out against their will. What does this mean for the trade deadline? Is this that players only take active roles in their trade, and are we going to see a bigger shakeup than we thought? There's a lot of whispers. I think this, obviously relates to the Spurs quite a bit with DeRozan and Aldridge, really, as their main pieces, but potentially their main trade pieces too. And obviously, there's been talk with Miami. But does that then limit the Spurs for the rest of the season? Do they? If it seems like Paddy has a good game, they win. Paddy doesn't have a good game, they lose. You can actually pick that out from game to game. Paddy scores 20, they win. Paddy doesn't score 20, they lose. So is it that they're not getting a good enough bench offense? He's kind of gone down in minutes now that everyone's healthy, only playing 20 minutes a night. Is it really that they're just lacking that bench efficiency and it's relying on Paddy to have good nights? And by the way, he's having a career year. We'll get into that obviously in the half-season review. But he's having a career year in all stats, obviously following on his good campaign for the Boomers. So they need to either find someone else in that bench rotation offense to take the load, or Paddy's just got to be on every single night.
So Murray just quietly has not had a good season.
No, not at all.
It's the he's been out for a year. We've got to basically jam him back into this team type thing. Like that's what it feels like to me. Like they're jamming him back into the team and just being like, well, he is the future. Paddy, just keep doing your thing in the background. And Paddy's that's clearly Paddy's gig. He loves that, and it's obvious that's how he plays too. Like it's his game fits that perfectly. But I don't know. Like is Aldridge and DeRozan the two trade pieces that you really want for this Spurs team? If you're going right, we need to make this playoffs here. I don't know. Like it's like DeRozan, maybe you might do. Like I guess like there's a huge gamble to be had. Do you get rid of both? Do you go, all right, we're going all in on Aldridge, going back to 3 years ago when we were just like Lamarcus post-up buffet all day, or you can eat Lamarcus, I was about to say, or you can eat Lamarcus. Or do you go, you know what, DeRozan's our guy, man. Lamarcus will trade him. I don't know. I can't look at DeRozan and go, you know what? I mean, let's build around this guy.
Yeah.
As much as
I don't know.
Yeah, I wanted to see it now.
If you get a Kendrick Nunn from Miami or a Tyler Hero, or you get a Bam Adebayo, you get a young piece in that you can build a franchise. I don't think you can build a franchise around DeRozan. They tried it in Toronto. It didn't work. You can't build a franchise around LaMarcus. They tried it at San Antonio. It didn't work. So if they're good enough trade pieces for you to get something in return that you can build around and try something new, and that's really what you got to try and do, and collect some good picks and pick up some good plays here and there, and we'll and see how it goes. But they could sneak into the 8, and you never know. Pop could pull something out of his ass.
Yeah, it's possible. You just never know.
Possible.
Is it like if they don't trade anyone, is it an acceptance? Sorry, if they do trade, do they then accept that they're not going to make the playoffs?
I think that they accept that that's a real reality.
Yeah, but I think if you're going to make those trades, you have to kind of accept that you probably won't make the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think
I don't know if as a franchise they're really ready to do that yet.
Yeah, but is it a franchise that's just really ready to wither and die in these old players that aren't really doing anything?
Yeah, it's been a struggle, and it's been a like where I don't want to be disrespectful to Pop, but it's been like dude, where are we with this? Like it really is like, all right, let's ask some questions here. Like what's going on with this? We're at that point at the moment for them. And
I think so.
Like that's something you wouldn't have thought 2 years ago that, you know what, in 2 years we're going to be asking Pop, dude, what's going on with this team? Like what's up here? You know what I mean? That's such a strange thing for them. But Paddy again, like continuing to just kill it. So good, having a career year, just crushing it, getting kind of plaudits too. I've noticed around the league, people are going, man, Patty Mills. Could we see him get traded somewhere?
I don't think so. I think he'll be in San Antonio until he retires. Hopefully, I really want to see him come and play in Australia for a couple of years as a bit of a twilight down in maybe Illawarra.
Yeah,
that would be Hawks, that'd be great destination for Paddy, and really, put some money into the franchise and really own being back home, and giving back to the NBL potentially. Just like every Australian we'd like to see. You're probably the only one you wouldn't see is Simmons, because he's probably going to be there for 20 seasons.
Yeah, there's a real possibility he might make it into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so you'd like to see that a lot of these Aussies come back and finish their craft off in the local league. But it won't be a long time for Paddy Mills. I think he'll be there for a while. I think he's got another year run on his contract. There's no reason why he would not be a vet min on any team in the league. Would you not want a sharpshooter, JJ Redick style sharpshooter that can run rings around defenders and get you quick buckets and points? So I don't see him leaving this league or leaving the Spurs anytime soon. I think he'll retire a Spur.
You know who he'd be really good on? The Bucks.
We say that with every shooter. Just get JJ Redick.
That's so true. Can you shoot the ball? Man, he'd be good on the Bucks.
Well, this is coming back to my point about, why you build around Simmons instead of Giannis, is that Simmons has not had shooters in this team, yet he has the most assists on made threes. And Philly are like 18th in three-point attempts and three-point percentage. So that just shows you put a team of shooters around, you get a lot of threes. Shall we finish off with the Suns?
Yeah, the Suns just quietly again having a few more L's and then, a win here and there. They beat the Spurs. I don't know what's going on with them, man.
It's kind of like if Booker has a night on or a night off or a night on. Baines seems to be a little bit injured at the moment. He's been out for a string of games. DeAndre Ayton's come back and is playing particularly well again, and that's good to see. But they're a team that, I think they've got a couple of cornerstone pieces of the franchise. Young guys, Ayton's 22, Booker's only 25. Like, you don't start winning championships until you're together for a couple of years. Kelly Oubre, I think they're probably just lacking that really strong power forward position. And you and me don't rate Ricky Rubio at all.
No.
I think he's just dog shit. Even though all the coaches in the league rate him, I was just like, no, he's terrible.
Oh, that's for sure. There's no. I've got nothing against him as a player, right? But in a lineup like this, where you've got like ulterior ball handlers, you've got spacing issues with isolation players. It's just a team where you're just like, why are you throwing Ricky Rubio into this? This doesn't make sense at all. Like, there's no space. You basically don't want him to take any shots. If you can dime people up, that's good. But then you got two dominant ball guys anyway in Oubre, and even Ayton kind of needs the ball in the post a little bit. That's just like, why is he on this team? You know what I mean? And then part of it is kind of like confirmation bias and the fact that we, at the start of the season, were just like, this is not going to work. And then it's kind of been, but it still feels to me like a piece where you're like, oh, if we just fix this, it'll be better. It's not necessarily like, oh, you know what? Like, if he got better, it could make the team better. To me, it's just like, if you got rid of this, like, it'd make the team better type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's I think a few players haven't developed out how they would like them. Starich really hasn't been all that effective.
Starich just looks like he's playing like a guy that doesn't want to be there though.
Yeah,
he looks like a guy that's just like, I don't want to play for this team, man. It's weird.
Well, that's what you are when you just really a trade piece. He's going to be a trade piece his whole career. It's going to be like a deep bench trade piece that they need to move on. Unfortunately, and there's a lot of.
Was he like that at Philly though? He did. I feel like he had more personality at Philly.
Well, he was drafted at Philly. That was his draft home. He came third in the year for Rookie of the Year. That says that was a bad year. He came third in scoring for Rookie of the Year in terms of draft. Look, he had a bit of a cult following at Philly. He played well at Philly. He played with heart, and he needs a floor spacing pass point guard like Simmons to shoot. Whereas Rubio kind of just gets into these weird areas and does like small little dribble handoff where he's not, he doesn't really open the floor up because they collapse in on him. Dario Saric is one of those guys that needs open threes, and the only way to get that, tell you where to be good at, on the Bucks. Size, space,
That's actually a really good call, though, man. He would be really good on the Bucks.
So
Yeah,
maybe we should.
that would be good. Yeah.
Should we should start Tinder for NBA? Like just like you are a match. Just swipe.
Swipe. Can you shoot? You're on the Bucks. But it's so true though, man. Like, but I still feel like for him, it's attitude. I don't know if I saw that kind of like his head's always down. You know, he doesn't fight through things. I didn't see that at Philly. I saw a player that loved being there, worked hard, played hard. In this Phoenix team, it feels like a guy that's just like, I want to be here, man.
Yeah, but that's the
I
ultimate.
got traded from the team that I wanted to be at. This sucks.
This is the ultimate reality of the NBA when you're not a franchise player. You have to be professional, and if you're on a team for 10 days or 2 years, it's got to be you're fighting for your contract every day, because there's 50,000 other guys that can take your spot tomorrow. There's a whole other league dedicated to guys that could literally take your spot for half the money they're paying you tomorrow on a 10-day two-way contract or a two-way contract. So you really have to fight for it every day, and that's why some of these guys are out of the league in 3 or 4 years, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case and he goes back to Europe.
Just looking at this Spurs box score with the Suns beating the Spurs 103-99 from a few days ago, and you look at like 34 minutes for Saric, 34 minutes for Oubre, 36 minutes for Ayton, 35 minutes for Rubio, 41 minutes for Booker, 32 minutes for Bridges. So that's basically a 6-man rotation for most of that game. And
they just don't have enough depth.
4 guys out. Yeah, 4 guys out. Diallo, Johnson, Baines, and Tyler Johnson. Old Gappy Tooth. So I don't know. The team, like this team, feels like it's a couple of years cooking away, but it doesn't have that feel of like this team has the attitude to develop itself. This team has the attitude like they're going to every season thinking they're going to make the playoffs. And then when they don't, it's like a huge like, oh man, kick rocks. This sucks. Like, whereas if you just accepted that you're going to be a 7th seed or you're going to be a 6th or 7th seed soon, you'd play differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a strange
situation. A bit more heart and passion.
Or like acceptance of where you are and not just, oh man, like we should be winning this game. It's just like, well, be better type of thing.
Yeah.
Well, that about wraps up all the teams. We got some good fixtures coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're looking
Philly playing the Celts, Philly playing the Bucks.
Spurs. They're playing the Warriors too, mate.
That one's in the bag.
They're going to smash the Warriors. It's just going to be like an absolute total destruction.
Draymond averaging that triple single.
Triple single. Man, it's so sad watching him out there with just like a college team, basically. It's just like
Charles Barkley is hilarious, man. He's just like, you ain't still chirping now. You're averaging that triple single.
Yeah, but dude, look at that team though, man. Like Charles Barkley couldn't have made, like Shaq couldn't have made that team good. They are terrible. Yeah. It's so hard to watch, dude. It's just so soul destroying.
Hey man, I watched Philly when they were 12 games a season, so you better watch Warriors at 10.
It's true. It's so hard to do, man. It really is.
Well, it wasn't soul destroying. It was hilarity. It was like, yes, we got to win. Yes.
Do we even mean that? But this team can't even win games. Like they're in games at the end of the season. I've said this heaps of times. Like they can't even win games. Like they just blow games. They're just like, oh, we just lost that game. We were in it until the third quarter, and then we just lose. Like, and then they just beat like Houston randomly. Like what? Okay,
Bit of fight, the old dog. All right, so
we'll wrap it up here. Yeah.
Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Obviously, a bit of a downer at the beginning, but this will be updated every couple of days. We'll be talking about it probably pretty much on the pods going forward. But please feel free to tune into the mid-season reviews. They're coming up. Hoping to do Cleveland, Detroit, and potentially the Suns this week, and then moving up the ladder to the epitome of Australian basketball team. So probably Philly and the Jazz last, Spurs in the middle. But remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll be back pretty soon.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.